You're watching NewsX. My name is Vineet Malhotra. Chandrababu Naidu's return to Andhra politics has put Amaravati back in the spotlight. The capital's location has been a contentious issue since Andhra Pradesh's bifurcation in 2014, when Hyderabad was designated as a shared capital for Telangana and Andhra Pradesh until June 2nd, 2024, as per the Andhra Pradesh Organisation Act. When YSRCP's Jagan Mohan Reddy came into power in 2019, he came up with a three-capital solution. Visakhapatnam was the executive capital, Kurnool the judiciary capital, and Amaravati the legislative capital. Now, TDP has promised that Amaravati would be the capital if they win. As Naidu wins in Andhra, for Amaravati will be the capital of Andhra Pradesh is the big question. Now, why is Amaravati important for the TDP and Andhra Pradesh is the big question, and how TDP plans to revamp Amaravati is also going to be an important aspect of this entire promise and premise. Mr. Anurag Naidu, political analyst, joins us on the program. Dr. Sharath Kohli, senior economist, also with us on the show. Raghav Reddy, political observer, also joins us on the show. Last but not the least, Mr. Vivek Menon, urban planner, joins us on the program as well. Dr. Kohli, I'll begin with you. While the TDP pledging to restore Amaravati as the capital city, what we are learning and what I read in reports also this morning is that property prices have surged by 20 to 30% in just the last few days. Now, this is obviously going to lead to crores and thousands of crores of greenfield capital programs that are going to come up in Amaravati. How is this good for that part of the country?
Well, good afternoon, Vineet. Rather, good evening, Vineet, and a very big hi to all my fellow panelists and NewsX viewers. Well, Vineet, we've come a full circle. I remember in 2018-19, we did a show on the same topic when Amaravati was dumped by the YSR government, and when they came to power in 2019, I remember Amaravati was dumped and there was work done here and there. All the good work done in Amaravati was set aside, and now, if you see Amaravati today, it will probably remind you of a ghost town, with those ruins, all the things left as it is, half-built walls, half-built buildings, and so half-built roads, and so on and so forth. I think this country does need cities. If you see the cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Bengaluru, Chennai, Kolkata, they are bursting. I mean, the kind of immigrant population, the way local population has emerged. I think that was the thought process which Chandrababu Naidu had at that time. That let us make a modern city, let us make a contemporary city, and let us propel the development of the state. So you see, any leader who's development oriented will always think ahead. And thinking ahead, one of the things you would do for a state is to come out with a new city. And we should not forget, I still remember my words in 2018-19, when I had a show on Amaravati, on your channel itself, it was being made as a smart city, a fully IT-based city, a very planned city, where all the problems which a town planner faces, I'm sure Vivek will be a better person to comment on that, but then any problems which a town planner or town planning would face, for that matter, was being taken care of and Amaravati was being developed. So I think any move to thwart, now it is a big political problem in India that just reverse the decisions of the earlier government, irrespective of the fact that the kind of money which has gone in, the kind of planning which has gone in, the kind of efforts which have gone in, and most importantly, we need the vision which is behind making that city. But because of political rivalry, all you do is to reverse the decision straight away, that, just cancel this out, dump this, because this is going to take... From where did 30 lakh crores come? I heard a statement coming from YSR, from Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy, that 30 lakh crores is needed. From God's sake, which 30 lakh crores was needed? 50,000 crores is all you need to make that city going. The rest of the development is time-bound. It keeps developing on its own because there's so much of investment which comes in there, it becomes a kind of an automated process, and we've seen that happening at so many places. I mean, look at Ayodhya. The biggest example we have in front of us is Ayodhya. Look at what has happened to the property prices. In fact, you are talking of 20-30%. I say that the property prices are going to go up by 100% after the Chandrababu Naidu government is in place and the work is restarted in Amaravati. So it is going to double. You wait and see. In fact, if anybody who's watching this show wants to make an investment in a city in real estate, go to Amaravati, buy land, buy buildings, undertake projects, invest in there, and you will see your money grow, because all you need is government's will. All you need is a government who backs the whole project. It's very unfortunate that the YSR Congress took this decision to waste all the money. He said it takes 100 years. I also heard from the YSR Congress it's going to take 100 years. When did a city in India take 100 years? Ayodhya was built in 2 years. I mean, I don't know which era Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy is living in. I'm sorry to say that it takes 100 years to make a city. We've seen cities here which have been done in 2 to 3 years. I mean, I think Vivek will vouch for it. It takes 2 to 3 years. If you are really on it, if you are really on it, it's all on the table. The entire machinery is there. The entire admin machinery is there. The funds are there. The only care that needs to be taken is that Andhra Pradesh liabilities right now are more than 4 lakh crores. I think that is one challenge which Mr. Chandrababu Naidu will have to handle to make sure that already heavily indebted Andhra Pradesh, which is all due to wrong policies of the YSR Congress in the last 5 years, the debt has really climbed up. But I think with the center being it's almost going to be a double engine, not a double engine in maybe not in literal sense, but otherwise it's going to be a double engine government. So there's no reason why Andhra Pradesh will not square up its liabilities and make sure that the Amaravati dream is back on the table and people start living there. In fact, I would advise NewsX to do shows once every month to monitor the progress as to how quickly, just to prove that it does not take 100 years. This is going to be completed in the next 2 to 3 years. Definitely, Vineet.
All right. Mr. Menon, 5 years down the line after Jagan Mohan Reddy had taken charge of the state, Amaravati today, is by many considered to be a ghost town. There are unfinished buildings, there are abandoned projects, there's dumped machinery, and of course, lastly, there are dumped hopes of hundreds of local residents, especially farmers, who have protested and brought out their misery to the powers that be, which, of course, were not attended to. Do you think that's likely to change, and should it change?
I believe, I think Dr. Kohli hit the nail on the head when he said that, we do need new cities. Unfortunately, most of the big metropolises are bursting at their seams, and the lack of planning to expand these cities to meet the demands of the expanding population have really not taken off. Now, if there's anyone actually who can probably build a new city, it is Chandrababu Naidu, as he has shown with Hyderabad. I mean, Hyderabad used to compete at one point in time with Bangalore for being the IT capital, and it did so very well. In fact, High-Tech City was built, all the majors came in there. Now, one thing that we have to keep in mind is the fact that, Andhra Pradesh, as it stands today after the bifurcation, primarily is an agricultural state. It does not have revenues that come from, other aspects. And so, creating a new city would bring in the kind of, probably IT, other industries that could probably, be the tax base for Andhra Pradesh. And Chandrababu Naidu, and like you said, being kind of a double-engine sarkar right now with the BJP in power at the center, there could potentially propel this growth in Amaravati. And I would say on a good estimate, you could probably build a city within about 5 to 10 years. 2 might be a little aggressive only because of the fact that we're building a city and it's going to be a fairly large city. Now, going back to the early 2000s, if you look at the contractors that existed at the time, the GMRs, the GVKs, the SOMAs, the IVRCLs, now they're all from Andhra, believe it or not. And they built airports across the country. In fact, Bangalore was built, Hyderabad was built. So I think if those contractors would be brought back on board, if the government wills it, and I know that they have a huge deficit right now, they've got to work on that deficit. But I think with the support of the center, they could probably infuse those funds. Now, at the time, 10 years ago, when Amaravati was actually conceptualized, they did have a couple of Singapore consortiums that were coming in to design the city, which is very critical, I believe, planning the city with wide roads, ensuring that, and the fact of the matter is it sits on the banks of the Krishna River. So I think water will not be a problem for Amaravati. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why it was chosen. And so if you can provide the right kind of infrastructure, which includes everything from good sanitation to what a well-planned city needs, especially the ground civil infrastructure, I think the smart city concepts can overlay on them and you can get a very, very vibrant vibrant city. Now, of course, the three capital plan that they had was going to fall flat anyway, because centers of power cannot be distributed that easily. So I do believe that Amaravati as a singular capital will really propel Andhra Pradesh. And Andhra is the erstwhile Andhra was a stiff competitor. It was at the top of most indications, most indices in terms of growth, in terms of education, in terms of literacy, all of that. So I think after the bifurcation, yes, Andhra Pradesh itself has fallen behind a little bit, considering the fact that they lost Hyderabad. But if they can create a new Hyderabad in Amaravati, I think it'll be well served for the people of Andhra who really deserve this. So yes, I believe 5 to 10 years is a good window. They've got a double-engine sarkar, if you can call it that. And if Modi comes back on his promises to Chandrababu Naidu, I think the erstwhile Andhra can be returned to its old glory.
Anurag, while, many governments in the past have made multiple promises, but, the heaps of garbage that we see in Amaravati today, are also a reminder that all these parties that are in power today, including the TDP and the parties that were in power in the state in the past, have had many promises that have left not only the people who gave away their land, but the normal citizens of the state also in a state of quandary, in a state of confusion, and in a state of, economic backwardness. It was slated that this would be the next Singapore, I remember a decade ago, by the powers that be. But, it's a complete apathy of the politicians only that this is still an issue after 10 years of bifurcation of this particular state. What does that tell you on what needs to be done in the next 5 years now that Chandrababu Naidu is also part of the NDA? He does not even have, it's not only about the opportunity that he has, think about the access that he has now.
Absolutely. Before I begin, I'll have to tell you two interesting facts in this conversation. I come from Amaravati, and I'm one of the people who have given land for the capital development. I've given an acre of land out of a very, very prime area in Amaravati, right very close to Mr. Naidu's house that I own. And I've also been the beneficiary, and it's on my wife's name, but we've been the beneficiary of the annual the rent that the government pays to us. So we know the pain for the last 5 years and the destruction that has happened over the last 5 years. And, let's understand when Andhra Pradesh was bifurcated in 2014, right? Mr. Naidu made this move that within a year, he made this decision to move all the officers and officers back down to Amaravati. Within a year, he built a beautiful interim state secretariat complex, which is still existing, which is still the office and the working space of, the chief minister and the council of ministers that just were incumbent. I mean, there's an exception. The Honorable Chief Minister today, the incumbent Chief Minister, chose to work from his private residence, which I believe is not a fair practice to do for any Chief Minister. But the entire government was functioning from the interim state complex. Mr. Naidu built a beautiful state-of-the-art High Court building, which is one of the best in India today. I mean, you can see it on the main road of Mangalgiri, the beautiful police headquarters. So a lot of infrastructure have come in less than 5 years, and the planning and the layout was already done. The roads were laid off. It is a fact that people, close to the proximity or close to the circles, political circles, and it's by nature, they would definitely, and also let's not forget, a lot of investment from Hyderabad started coming into Amaravati back in 2014 to 19 because people wanted to develop and grow their money. As a result of it, there was a lot of land acquisition that had already happened. And Mr. Jagan Reddy chose to make some political decision out of it, did not develop Amaravati for some political reasons. The three capital, thing was brought in to hit the investor sentiment. And also, let's not forget, there was a very strong government back in, again in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, which was giving stiff competition to the state government. When Ms. Naidu was there, the opportunity was very good. Jayalalitha passing away, a lot of good things were in favor of, Andhra Pradesh. You know how Kia Motors was bought in Andhra Pradesh because of the good negotiation that took place between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Andhra chose to take it away because of Mr. Naidu's effort. So a lot of things happened in these 5 years. But last 5 years, 2 years out of it was hit by COVID, and then the government did not really try to push anything out of it. This is a eureka moment. I would say why this is important is you have a state which is reeling under debt of 4.85 lakh crore. And let's not forget the tax revenue that the state gets every year is close to 84,000 crore. Close to 6 to 8,000 crore we just pay on as interest out of this 4.8 lakh crore that the state has lent. You need to understand the math do not really add up. If you ask a state government, like Vivek was mentioning, I mean, let's not look at this capital development from an infrastructure development point of view, where you give a project. You need to have money to give a contractor, okay, come build me a complex in 2 years or 5 years. Mr. Naidu's challenge is how do we pool in resource? And that's exactly why Mr. Naidu today in Delhi is negotiating for ministries in the cabinet, in the union cabinet, that would benefit his state by and large. And that is why the Ministry for Finance, because the release of the fund should be faster, so that the payments to the vendors can be made faster, the development can go faster. Road transport, because we need roads. Shipping, we need shipping, because Andhra is going to be the coastal capital of India going forward. A lot of things, agriculture ministry, rural development is something Mr. Naidu has put it on the table as a non-negotiable fact. Why? Because you need to have the central funds to develop the infrastructure. So I think he's doing an excellent job in the last 2-3 days. He's gone with his homework. He knows what the state really requires. It is a very important stage in his life. I'm very sure he's not going to get this opportunity again in his life.
But at the same time, Mr. Reddy, this was land pooling that was done. And land pooling obviously, has to do a lot with the ecological balance of a particular plan as well. That was not taken care of. Do you think that this urban city dream to replace, this ecological balance and to transform Amaravati into a new Singapore, was not done in the right way? Because a lot of these farmers who gave away this land, they were made tall promises. And okay, if you're taking away land from the poor people and giving them, big houses or normal houses to live in, and if that area or that land is not fertile, it's a different matter. But this is thousands and thousands of acres of land, which was farmland. It was agrarian land, which was taken away. So if you're not able to come up with the development that you promise, and at the same time, you're also depriving the state and the country and these farmers of agricultural resources and produce, it's a big deal.
Absolutely. In fact, while we talk about all the industrialization or whatever industries that would come up in Andhra, one thing that we really need to understand is on the land issue, because it was proposed originally that Amaravati will be built over 53,000 acres, of which close to 34,000 acres will be acquired from close to 28,000 farmers, Anurag being one of them. Whether he's a farmer or his father might have done some farming, but 28,000 farmers have given out their land. And I was just checking the news, and I come across a small news that just before the elections, the collector of Guntur has actually denotified 600 odd acres from this from the Amaravati capital region. Okay, he has actually filed in for denotification. So today, the biggest challenge for Chandrababu Naidu will be, okay, what is the current status of the region from a geography perspective? Okay, what is the current, if there has been a change in the alignment? Okay, to what extent the alignment has changed? Okay, who are the people who now own the land? Because I have come across, I've seen in the past that Jagan has actually distributed some small land parcels to poor people for housing needs. So to what extent and where is this land distributed? Okay, who are these people? Will Naidu try to reacquire that land? Okay, so there are a lot of challenges. I think even before getting into building the capital part, what is the current status of this capital? Does the original plan remain as it is? Okay, do they have to make a realignment of the plan? Now, will they again go back to planners from Singapore or from whichever part in the world? Okay, what is the status? I think the biggest challenge will be to understand the current scenario. And in addition to that, even though Chandrababu Naidu is part of the current union government, the biggest challenge for Naidu will be Okay, the continuity of governance. Okay, if somebody comes in and wants to invest into this project today, okay, they will be worried about their future 5 years later. If tomorrow the government changes, if Naidu loses 5 years later, what is the situation they are going to be in? Okay, what is the kind of money? So it's not going to be easy. And Anurag was mentioning about a lot of money coming in from Hyderabad. Today, will all those investors who are sitting in Hyderabad, who are happy by investing in Hyderabad, will they again move their assets to Amaravati? So there are various challenges. I think even before building the capital part, I think what we need to really understand is where do we stand? Where does Amaravati
Sure.
stand today? What is the current scenario? Are they going to be this? Is there going to be the similar trust that it
Yeah,
had?
you're absolutely right. And Dr. Kohli, there is also a chatter about Chandrababu Naidu asking for a special status or, declare Andhra Pradesh as a special state. But, it is really difficult for a state like Andhra Pradesh to have that kind of attack because, even to qualify for that particular title, it has to have some qualifications. It has to have a hilly and difficult terrain. There has to be a low population density, low resource base. The location has to be strategic along with the borders of the country. Economic and infrastructural backwardness, Dr. Kohli, is also a part of it. Non-viable nature of the state's finances, sizable share of tribal population, and look at what they get, Dr. Kohli. They get a preferential treatment in getting central funds assistance. They get concessions on excise duty to attract industries to the state. 30% of the center's gross budget goes to the special states category, and they can also benefit with debt swapping. This also gives them tax breaks to attract investment. Do you think, considering where Andhra Pradesh is today, this is something that they should be asking for? And considering what has happened to Amaravati or not happened to Amaravati in the last decade?
Well, I think what can be bargained, being one of the key parties, one of the largest supporting parties, after the BJP. I think that's between the TDP and the BJP and the NDA alliance to sort out as to how far they'll be able to bargain. But getting a special status, as you rightly mentioned, the parameters, those parameters.
Yeah, but that's different. What I'm asking you is, does Andhra Pradesh, can it be equated, with the state for that matter, like a Jammu or Kashmir or some of the northeastern states?
I was coming to that. So it doesn't fit into those parameters. That's precisely the point. They don't fit into the parameters, even half of them, if you ask me. But then, in politics, anything is possible. There could be some other way found to make sure that Andhra Pradesh is probably, eased out of the liabilities, first of all. I would just like to address two very quick points. One point was Mr. Reddy raised about the perpetuity. That is, whether, suppose after 5 years, it's YSR back or some other party is back, then what happens to? So I can answer that partly. He may or may not agree that once the city is up and going, once people have moved, once the colonies have been developed, and once various government administrative machinery is functional, then it becomes difficult to reverse, because say for example 1 million people start living there or 500,000 people start living there, they've moved already. I don't think any political party is going to uproot them or probably ignore them and not focus. So that could partly be my answer. Maybe entirely not, but partly be my second. I would also like to very quickly speak on the three capital theory. This Kurnool, Hyderabad and Amaravati. The idea behind three capital theory was to have balanced development of the state. That Kurnool comes up as a judicial capital, Amaravati, with legislature, and then Hyderabad, of course, where the rest of the machinery is. So I think the idea was to have a balanced development. What happens typically is, for example, take any city, let's say Uttar Pradesh, take Lucknow. Now, what you will observe is that around Lucknow, most of the development is happening. And around Delhi, because Delhi is the capital of the country, so Uttar Pradesh around Delhi would develop. So there is always that magnet effect of the capital. So what Mr. Naidu's plan was to have a balanced development that we spread across. We have, you go to the judiciary, you go here. You want to you've got legislative work, you come here. You've got other commercial things to do, you go there. So I think a balanced development of the state was the intent. The intent was not to have three cities as the capital, but where people spread out.
and we developed the state in totality. I think that was the whole idea. And it was looked at from a different perspective, that it is impractical to have a three-state capital. We've never heard of three-state capital anywhere else, which is why it was criticized.
Maybe in South Africa. Maybe in South Africa.
Yes, it is there, but I'm talking of the country. I'm talking of within the country, we don't have a three-state capital. So I think to answer your question more precisely, if not the special status, Vineet, definitely Andhra Pradesh would be a favored state, undoubtedly, which is why, they are bargaining for the finance minister of state finance to be theirs. They are also, as my colleague mentioned, they want the rural development, because they see the intent of Mr. Naidu is to make sure that the state is developed. Now, it is for the center and the Bharatiya Janata Party or NDA alliance in totality to decide what is possible, what is not possible. That will be a political, discussion, a political deliberation, which will be done eventually. But the idea of Mr. Naidu is that his state should benefit, since they are one of the, I'm putting in inverted commas, kingmakers or whatever terminology is used. I think they want that they should also be getting things in return. And a neglected state, a primarily agriculture state, which was becoming a backward state for more reasons than one, should come to the forefront, should come to the mainstream.
Okay.
And it
all
should
right. We have run out of time. We have run out of time. I'm going to quickly take closing thoughts from all of our guests, starting with Mr. Menon.
Vineet, one thing that they can do, and this is something that has been done in the past in Gujarat, and the Town Planning Act actually allows this, instead of acquisition, which is usually a very expensive exercise. Reconstitution is something that the Town Planning Acts allow for, and reconstitution ensures that even the farmers or the individuals who give up land are part of the developmental process. So the government becomes a partner in the development along with the land, the landowner. So that's a much better way of actually acquiring land or reconstituting it, so that no one is disenfranchised from their land itself. So that is just a point that I wanted to insert in.
All
there,
right, okay.
Especially
Anurag, quickly. Anurag, 10 seconds.
That's Vivek. That's exactly what the conditions of the Land Pooling Act that Mr. Naidu did. The farmers were a part of the development. The land still a part of it would be there. The rest of the part would be developed. That was how it was given.
All right, quickly. 10 seconds is what I said. 10 seconds.
One very important thing was when Mr. Naidu built an interim complex. The secretariat. He named it as an interim, and that's exactly what Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy went to the court and told the court that this infrastructure that Mr. Naidu built is interim, and that's not moving the capital.
All right, Mr. Reddy, 10 seconds to you. Mr. Reddy, 10 seconds to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll just take it from where Anurag left. The interim part, the biggest mistake Chandrababu Naidu did was, he took 5 long years and did not.
All right, we've run out of time. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.